All right, and we are back with the one and only Lindsay Ell. Lindsay, thanks so much for making the time today.
Thanks
How's
so
it
much for
going?
having me, Nico. This is amazing.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to it. You have your EP coming out soon.
Yeah.
Love Myself. This is such a multifaceted project, and there's so many angles we can come at it, but it really feels like you're writing from a place of like clarity and confidence. And I just wanted to ask, like, how are you feeling getting ready to share this body of work with people?
I am so excited to share this project with the world. I haven't released music in 4 years, and
Crazy.
it's crazy how fast time flies.
Mm,
But I feel like I'm ready. I think a few years ago, I just wasn't liking the music that I was recording and wasn't liking the place I was in my life and even just where I was with my own mental health. And so I took the last few years to really focus on getting things right and figuring things out and honestly just like taking the mask off and being like, this is who I am and this is what I want to do and this is what I've been struggling with and these are things I like and honestly just kind of like removing the veil.
mm. Was there a moment that you can think back to that you realized that had to happen? Like, what's the beginning of this journey, if you were to take us back to there?
Great question. I mean, I'm so grateful for the path I've taken and I've heard artists describe it as like it is not a straight line from A to
Mm.
B. It is like a zigzag and
And
an up
sometimes
and
it goes
down
off
and it
track.
goes
And
backwards and
yeah.
then it goes forwards. And so it's like to retrace any of those steps would be
Mm,
probably impossible. And when I look back, I'm so grateful for each and every one of those steps and I
mm,
wouldn't honestly change any of them. But there's just these moments I think they're like ends of chapters maybe in our
mm,
lives where you're given the decision to sort of choose at a crossroads like what way do you want to go. um Over a decade ago I moved to Nashville and I got offered a country record deal and I was so excited and I was wanting to be a female John Mayer
mm,
and I was like, okay, a country record deal, this is close enough. I mean it all is sort of the same thing
mm.
and so I signed it and then for a decade I zigzagged around the world and fell in love with so many fans and got to do what I love for a living and then a decade into that I think I just got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm trying to chase something that isn't me anymore. And I think I was surrounded by so much infrastructure that I felt like it was this smart business decision for me to make music that didn't feel authentic.
Mm.
And I'm like, this is a scary place to be because do I shoot myself in the foot and make music that I really love? Or do I make music that I don't really like that I feel like will fit in line with where everything was heading?
Mm.
And I'm like, maybe there's a third option. Maybe I could make music that I love that feels truly authentic and carve my own path and
Mm.
like go my own way. And so that's what I did. And it was terrifying because I think it's really scary anytime you feel like you're at a crossroads and you need to truly clean slate a lot of things. You sort of need to take down the old building before you build the new foundation and can build the new building.
Mm.
And I had to do that. I felt like I was starting over again, which, I just turned 35. I'm not a baby anymore. I was like,
Mm.
Lindsay, what are you doing? And I feel like life is so short for us to do things that we don't want to do.
Mm.
And I feel like fans can feel that. I think that in a live show the audience can, I mean, I know when I'm watching a show I can really feel if the artist on stage is vibing with what they're doing or if they're not.
Mm.
And I just got to the place where I'm like, I think happiness is more important and I truly believe deep down that when I create from that place that will connect everything else in ways that is hard to even put into words compared to chasing something that I'm not and trying to do something just because I think it'll make a whole bunch of people money.
there's a magic that comes from creating from that place.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can't put your finger on it when it's not there, but when
Yeah.
it is there, when you're listening to these songs, you can feel it.
It's
You know,
so true.
it's like it's powerful, and there's nothing else that could create that feeling.
Yeah, and it's scary how many of my artist friends I've talked to who do end up in the place like creating music that they don't like or that they don't feel is them anymore. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where did the misdirect happen?
Yeah, we lost the plot somewhere along
Completely. Or you just get so focused on chasing not necessarily fame, but chasing money, I guess, chasing something that you think is going to be commercially successful. And I think it's just so backwards because it's like the thing that is most authentic to you is the thing that has the most potential to become commercially successful.
the you.
Yeah.
And I think the really beautiful thing about that is that no one else can make that decision for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anybody else looking, that feels like, oh, you made it. You're doing the thing.
Totally.
That is great, and I commend you, and that's so cool that you were able to say, no, I want to course correct.
Yeah.
And this is the direction that I feel excited about. There's a lyric on the album or on the EP where you say, it feels so good to finally know what I want.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask, like, what is it, like, sonically that you are drawn to now? What's exciting you about the music that you're making and the sounds and the palettes that you're pulling from?
Thank you for pulling out that lyric. That's one of my favorite lyrics of The Hard Way. It is scary when you start to lose sight of what you want and you like don't even know what you prefer anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like
Murky.
It's so murky, but it's kind of easy to fall into places like that. And so, okay, where am I now?
Yeah,
what
what's
do I
inspiring
love?
you?
What's inspiring me? I mean, lots of cool guitar sounds. I mean, I would describe this music like 1975 meets Maggie Rogers meets Casey Musgraves and pulls in elements of like, obviously there's a lot of guitar playing on it because I'm such a guitar nerd.
Of course.
But it's first and foremost about the songs, you know. First and foremost, I'm a singer-songwriter and have been ever since I was 10 years old, and so it's about the lyrics and the songwriting. And I think that's what drew me to country music when I was little and when I moved to Nashville. But sonically, I'm just so inspired by pop music and pop sensibilities and alternative beats. And so I found a way to fuse all those things together.
It really does feel like I'm listening to your playlist getting condensed into something that's very distinctly you.
Yeah.
You know, you've been covering songs on socials that have sort of inspired or have sort of shaped the direction that you're headed. And I'm like, oh, love that one. Oh, and I kind of hear, not exactly one-to-one, but I hear that energy in the music.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Thank you. You know, I've always said my favorite artists are ones who, you know, obviously there are like the greatest singers of the world, like Celine and Whitney, and but oftentimes my favorite artists aren't the greatest person at this given thing, but it's like the mosaic of everything that they do. You know, John Mayer, Keith Urban, like the way they write songs, the way they play their instruments, the way they perform, the way they sing, and it's like that comes together in such a unique way. I mean, you look at Sheryl Crow, like what genre is she? I mean, she's just herself.
Sheryl Crow, yeah.
And she like fits into so many different places because she's so uniquely her. And so I've just been really looking up to the artists that inspired me ever since I was little, but for sure for this project, and was like, okay, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to be me. I don't think there has to be rules on like this genre has these instruments. This genre has these instruments. I'm like, what if I can just play the music that I love and the instruments that I love and fuse them all together?
Yeah, and this is what happens.
Yeah.
The record's born.
Yeah, the record is born.
I love that you said it sounds like everything is in service of the song first. It's a very like songwriting first process.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's not like you're trying to shoehorn in a guitar solo just because you want to rip a guitar solo or
Totally.
this decision just because it feels right for the genre. What's your favorite detail on the project? Is there a moment or maybe a section in a song that you just really feel like epitomizes this idea of we don't need to think too hard about genre. We're just going to make something that feels great?
I love this question. I mean, a few moments come to mind. I do try, as a musician, I do try to listen to a song and
Mm.
really hear what it needs. You know, live is a completely other element. Like you can play a 15-minute guitar solo live. I don't really know who would want to hear that other than me, but
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll
but
watch.
you can do things like that live, but
Yeah.
in the studio it's mainly figuring out, okay, what does this song need to say? I look at guitar solos as like extra lyrics to a song.
Mm.
And so oftentimes they're much more understated than they are anything else. And so recording some of the solos, like recording the solo to Story I Tell Myself, was so memorable to me because I really felt like that solo is an extension to the lyric of that song.
Right.
I think it has like the angst, but also the like feeling of like the release of self-acceptance. There is, when we were recording the piano for Pain Tolerance, the pedal on the piano was really squeaky because it was this like old, beautiful upright in the studio in Brooklyn that we were recording. And the pedal was squeaking the whole time. And so my amazing producer, Doug Schott, was going through like removing all the squeaks. And I'm like, leave one squeak.
Nice.
So if you listen to the intro of Pain Tolerance, you will hear like a pretty loud squeak. And that was like my request, because I was like, I want one squeak to stay.
Yeah, some realness.
Yeah.
And a project that's about acceptance for just where you are and who you are.
Completely.
That's a really nice way to represent that. I love that. Yeah, my favorite piano tones are always the ones where you can hear the pedal or even the mallets striking. When people are miking the mallets almost as much as they're trying to mic like the resonance of the instrument. It's such a beautiful thing.
I think it makes you feel like you're sitting right next to the piano or something.
We got to chat about guitar, because this is an instrument that's almost inseparable from my understanding of you as an artist. Word on the street is you picked it up at what, age 8?
Yeah.
So yeah, what's the journey through finding your way to this instrument and finding your unique voice on it to the point where you can write a verse as in the form of a guitar solo? It's a pretty amazing thing.
You know, I started playing piano when I was 6, and then when I was 8, it was a lot cooler to play Shania Twain songs, honestly.
Yeah.
When I was a little girl. And so my dad played guitar, and he put a guitar in my hands and showed me the intro to Stairway to Heaven.
Nice.
That was the first thing I learned.
That's a pretty hard first thing
I
to
mean,
learn.
I was
crazy.
just like, I can learn it, Dad. Show me. Like, how does it go? And so he taught it to me, and I was like, this instrument's cool.
That's the
like,
one.
I feel like it is just very communicative, especially I'm kind of a Strat girl, and there's something about playing, like, not to get all guitar nerd on you, but like single coils through a Strat, through like a clean amp, that you can just hear everything. Like you can hear the little sensibilities. If you move your finger, you're going to hear that on the note. And so I love how expressive guitar can be. Obviously acoustic is its own thing, but for sure electric guitar, it's just so expressive in so many ways. And the curiosity in my brain of learning new things on guitar never ends. And I hope it never will. You know, when I hear things like B.B. King would take a guitar lesson every day and Celine Dion would take voice lessons every day, I'm like, all right, I have a lot to learn still.
Yeah, a student for life.
Yeah, truly a student for life. But I'm honored that it can be something I learn on.
It's a beautiful instrument, and it's so exciting to hear your own voice through it, because you do have a very distinct style.
Thank you.
Yeah, even just like in comparison to a piano, not to like whatever, but the fact that you have the same note at the same octave in different places on the neck.
Yeah.
Like there's just so many different ways that you could come at a single line. It's
yeah.
fascinating.
It is something really cool about the instrument. I mean, every instrument has its own vibe and own like strengths for sure. But yeah, with guitar, there's just so many different inversions, so many different ways you can play the same thing that I think really help your brain explode into the space of anything is possible. And it's like a percussion instrument as well as a melodic instrument in a way, because the way you can play, the way you can add so much rhythm, especially on acoustic guitar, like you can use it as a drum. And so it's just really cool.
Yeah, enough to
really
learn for a
like
lifetime.
it. Yeah.
So you said you went from learning Shania Twain songs as you're picking up a guitar, and now you're playing them with her. What kind of a trip is that?
It's such a wild trip, Nico. Like last year we got asked to open for her on tour, which was so cool. I mean, I remember the first few shows we played with her, I was like, whoa, this is the reason I wanted to start singing, you know?
Insane.
And getting to open for her and share the same stage was such an honor. And then I get a call earlier this year, and she was like, Lindsay, do you want to come play guitar for me? And I was like, I never thought I would be side manning in a band, but absolutely.
So
I can
sick.
never say no to this. I
Yeah.
mean,
When Shania calls, you say yes.
when Shania calls, you say yes. You definitely say yes. And I am so grateful for all of the moments. I mean, we've been having a lot of fun shows in Vegas. We just got back from 3 weeks in Europe. We got to play Glastonbury.
Crazy.
We got to play Hyde Park. There were 140,000 people watching our show in Glastonbury.
Can you even take that in? Like when you're on stage, what does that look like?
Honestly, it's kind of hard to take in. Like I say, playing in front of 10 people is the hardest thing that you will
Interesting.
ever do, because you can feel them breathe, you can watch them blink, like you can see an immediate reaction.
Like 10
Playing-
human beings.
Yes, it's like really stressful.
Right.
But playing in front of 140,000, I got that all day, baby.
Crazy.
Because you just do your thing, and the stage becomes far more isolating because there's just so many people that for sure you can feel their energy, which is incredible. But you also on stage, it just sort of feels like you're in your living room and there's just a lot of spectators. And but 140,000 people at Glastonbury was something special. I mean, of course, she was playing the Legends slot, and we were broadcasted internationally on the BBC, and it was just a very, very special moment. And then we finished that run in Hyde Park, probably my favorite show of the whole tour. Of
why is
course,
that?
legendary Hyde Park. It was just so, it just felt like there was a magic to the audience. There's something really amazing as the sun is setting and you have 60,000 people singing along. It just feels like human consciousness or something, that music is this force that brings us all together. It's like it is truly the universal language that regardless of your age, where you're from, what language you speak, like we can all listen to music, and it can bring all of these people from different walks of life together. And it's just so powerful. And Hyde Park just seemed like the perfect cherry on top. She was like the sweetest thing and like introduced me so beautifully on stage, and I just felt so loved during that show. It's been an amazing run. Amongst finishing my own album and doing my own shows, it's been a busy year. I have not seen a lot of my dog this year, but but I'm very grateful to be busy.
Shout out Hendrix, by the way.
Shout out Hendrix.
What a little cutie.
Yes. I love that. She will very much so appreciate the shout out.
Does she come to the studio with you? Is she a studio
She
dog?
does. She's
Nice.
a studio dog. She's a bus dog. She
Love.
does love traveling. I bring her to Vegas.
So sick.
Yeah, she loves when we're flying around a lot. Like, she did not come to Europe.
Fair.
When there's like a lot of logistic travel things going on, then she stays at home. But she loves the road.
Love that. Yeah, it's you in the form of a dog.
It's pretty. Yeah, it truly does feel like that. I think they say that dogs find their owners that look like them, or vice versa, or something. And yeah, I
got
do
the
feel like
rockstar dog.
she's my kinship.
Love that. I gotta say, another thing that I love so much about you is how you use your platform, not even just in music, but also on a humanitarian philanthropy level.
Thank you.
I want to say congratulations, because you were acknowledged as a recipient of the CCMA Humanitarian Award.
Thank you.
And we're also asked to speak at the Clinton Global Initiative. It's pretty incredible. These are things that like people would work an entire career and lifetime towards, and you're doing that on top of your music, and really just like making the two go hand in hand in a way that really is tough to do. I think there's a reason why there's so few artists who can pull it off. I just wanted to say, yeah, thank you for using your platform in that way.
Thanks.
And also just ask, like for people watching, maybe you could share a little bit about the experience of that and what are some causes that you're really passionate about.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. I knew getting into the entertainment industry that I wanted to be able to use my platform for good, whatever that meant, and however big I could grow my platform to. I knew I wanted to use it to have a positive impact. I look up to people like, goodness gracious, Oprah, who just gives back so much left, right, and center, and does all of these crazy, incredible things for humans. And so I just started doing charity work when I was really little, and sort of it just snowballed one thing into the next, into the next, into the next. And I'm a survivor of sexual assault, and I started working with organizations who deal with kids who have been through similar things or have been sex trafficked or have come from really disenfranchised homes. And they inspired me so much, you know, getting to work with 12 to 18-year-old children who have the most terrifying stories that you could probably imagine. And they just have so much light in them. And it inspired me so much. I mean, I just remember hearing these little girls' stories. I went to this place called Youth for Tomorrow, and hearing these little girls' stories. And this 12-year-old girl was sitting beside me and was like, my parents sold me to a sex trafficking company when I was 8 years old. And she just had so much hope. Like I just felt so much hope in her heart. And she's lived such a tumultuous life in the first 12 years of her life. And I was like, if this little 12-year-old can inspire me so much, then what am I doing? You know, I need to be able to share my story. And so I wrote a song called Make You that is about my story as a survivor. And I started my own foundation called the Make You Movement. And through that has just sort of built into some really cool things. And I've been able to work with a lot of different organizations around the world to help other survivors, women, children, disenfranchised youth. And it is one of my favorite parts of my job because I feel like all of the glitz and glam of everything does not matter if you don't have that. You know, it's like the human element that makes everything worth it. And getting a humanitarian award, I was like, isn't that something you're supposed to get at the end of your career? I feel like I'm just beginning. Like I just want to do so much more. I haven't even begun yet. And yet it's such a huge honor. I'm so grateful to the CCMA. And yeah, when we got the call to go speak at the Clinton Global Initiative, I also was just quite speechless. And yet to be able to speak at such a important worldwide event where really brilliant minds are coming together to change our world for the better and to look towards the future and be like, how can we make this place safer? How can we make this place greener? How can we make this place more of a loving planet to live on? And those are the kind of people I want to surround myself with.
That's incredible. Yeah, for you to use your experience as a survivor and turn that into something that can lift up and inspire and give hope to more people. We need more artists like that in the world.
Amen to that.
I love that. On a lighter note, I wanted to ask you, for artists that you do look at, maybe just like who's on your Mount Rushmore of artists whose careers you are inspired by, or you know, you see a trajectory or maybe a piece of that career that, you know, you'd like to follow. And
yeah, I mean, for sure, John Mayer has inspired me so much just from who he is as a musician and a songwriter and how he fuses genres together and who he is as a person. I mean, we've gotten to do a little bit of work together, and I just look up to the career he's built so much. I think he's brilliant in so many ways. I look up to artists like Taylor Swift right now is just breaking barriers in ways that a lot of us probably didn't even think was possible. And yet she continues to amaze me when I don't think she can even do it again. And she does. And yet she has built this incredible platform and is inspiring millions and millions and millions of people around the world, and still finds a way to give back so much and share her platform with a lot of other female artists, some that are up and coming, that is like so beautiful to me, you know, to be able to like pay it forward is amazing, and it inspires me. It's like I remember on my first few tours just being so grateful that an artist would take a chance on me and bring me out on the road, and watching her do it at the level she is, and she's still doing so many cool things. I mean, I'm just like full kudos to her.
Yeah, it's like a very delicate, beautiful balance.
Yeah.
You know, there's an artist generation that turns around and gives back and lifts up the next generation.
Absolutely.
And I think without that kind of like support and community, music would be in a very different place right now.
Totally.
Well, before we wrap up today, I wanted to ask one last question. Knowing that the EP is going to be dropping soon,
Yeah.
for anybody who's listening, what's the best setting to take in the project for the first time? Could be time of day, location, mindset. Like, how can we best experience these songs, in the way you've intended?
I love this question, Nico. I don't think anybody has ever asked me this question.
It's important.
I think this is really important.
Love.
I'd say it's best to listen to this project when you're quiet by yourself. And that can be at home in like your favorite chair at like night, or it can be as the sun is setting when you're outside somewhere, or it can be in your car. I love listening to music in my car when I'm like driving around at sunset. But yeah, I'd say in order to like truly take it in with the lyrics and the messages on this project, just be in your favorite place by yourself.
Love that. A solitary,
yeah,
for yourself listen.
Totally.
That's beautiful. I'll be doing that release night.
I
sure.
love it. Amazing.
Lindsay, thanks so much for making the time today. I really appreciate it. Love Myself is out soon, and now you know how to listen to it.
Amen. Thank you so much, Nico. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's been lovely. Really nice.